Years.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we welcome you this morning to our Board of Commissioner meeting. We especially welcome those in the boardroom this morning who can see us, and we also welcome those that are virtual that are joining us as we progress in the meeting. So thank you for that. We have a relatively short agenda today, much like earlier in the week, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. So I'll call the meeting to order at 8 a.m. and we'll have a prayer by Commissioner Cook, and we'll have a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Goodchild. And then following that, we'll have our roll call by Clerk Fetting. Please, Lord.
Lord, thank you so much for this day, another day you've given us, Lord. Just pray that the decisions we make might be what's best for the constituents of Tuscola County. Thank you for everything you do for us. Do with our first responders, our military. Protect them today in a special way, Lord. The precious and holy name.
Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Commissioner Goodchild,
here.
Commissioner Bardwell,
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn, Commissioner Lutz,
Here.
and Commissioner Cook.
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good to be back.
Thank you, Clerk Fetting. Let me get switched over here again. All right, moving forward, is there anything to add to the agenda this morning before we begin?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Under new business, I would like to add the request for report.
All right, I understand we all have a copy of that email
Correct.
request. In the pleasure of the board, would you like it to be number 4?
Sure.
Okay. I don't see anyone here presenting for it, so.
Sheila's
Sheila's here.
Oh,
She has her hair
oh.
pulled. She has her hair pulled back up.
So do you have a time constraint? I'm just,
I do not.
okay. I looked at you back there and I was like, well, there's no judges here. But all right. Thank you for coming in for that. So we've added that. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the addition?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Cook and supported by Commissioner Lutz to approve the addition to the agenda as presented this morning. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Hearing none, our agenda has now been adopted. Action on previous meeting minutes. Previous meeting minutes of February 13th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve or any corrections before approval?
Chair, I move to adopt the meeting minutes from the February 13th, 2025 regular meeting.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz to approve the previous meeting minutes as of February 13th, 2025 as provided. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. The meeting minutes are approved as well. As we move forward, this is the portion of the meeting which also has a public comment at the end that allows the public to address the board on any of the agenda items that are coming up before us. Any other items would be saved to the end for the public comment. So is there anyone who would like to address the board on some of the items that are provided in the agenda this morning before we move forward? I'm not seeing or hearing anything. And our CIO is taking a check on the virtual, so I assume there's no one out there as well. All right, let the minutes show that we offered public comment for the agenda items only, and there was no public comment this morning. So the next item on the on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move to the consent agenda minutes and the consent agenda items for February 24th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting be adopted.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Luth and supported by Commissioner Cook, that the consent agenda meeting minute. All right, I'll read it as provided. Move that the consent agenda meeting agenda minutes and consent agenda items from the February 24th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting be adopted. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda has been adopted. And the minutes, meeting minutes. So the first item new business is Lapeer School bus riding software, which our GIS Director Cody Barton will be presenting this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I've received a request from Lapeer Schools to obtain a bit of parcel data from us to plug into their bus routing software. And I believe the numbers they've given us that this could potentially impact up to 15 current students, maybe more should others in those areas decide to transfer. Per our enhanced access policy, I am able to come here before the board and ask that you allow me to give that data to them free of charge. And that is what I'm here for today.
Any questions for Cody?
Mr. Chair, I do. Have we done this in the past?
We have done this one time prior, and if I recall, it was a very similar topic. I think it was also related to bus routing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Cody, is this like to determine optimum routing? Or how
I
do they
believe
use the
so.
data?
With the information that we will provide, we can give them the addresses, site locations that we have on file, which should improve their routing.
All right,
I have another question.
go ahead.
Did they do that for us?
I do not know if any company is doing the opposite, asking other counties. I do not know that for sure.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
Well, just to follow up, I think I heard, this is not the first time you've been asked.
Right, I believe we've had one other request of this nature, and it was related to bus routing.
Interesting. All right, any further questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the request from Cody Horton, Tuscola County GIS Director, for Lapeer Schools to obtain a copy of our parcel lane and addresses point database free of charge, as is a benefit to the general public and according to our enhanced access to public records.
There's support.
I'll support them.
Moved by Commissioner Lutz and supported by Commissioner Cook to approve the request of Cody Horton, Tuscola County GIS Director for the Lapeer Schools to obtain a copy of our parcel layer and address point database free of charge, as it is a benefit to the general public and according to our enhanced access to public records. That is a motion brought forward. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank
Cody.
you, Cody.
Next item, number 2, is out-of-state travel request for Lieutenant Dan Wiskowski and Cheyenne Messing, jail nurse, to attend training in Albuquerque, New Mexico, March 19th to 21st, 2025. And Shannon Beach, Sheriff's Secretary, will be presenting this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So previously, this request was back for January, the contract got canceled. This time they want to add our nurse, and I don't know if it's a big deal, her last name was actually Garrett, not N-A.
Can you spell that?
D-A-R-R-E-T-T.
Thank you so much. It does matter. Thank you.
After I think they've gotten some more information about what this program is, it would be official for our nurse to go. She's going to play an integral part in it. So all we're asking is that we, as the county, upfront her expenses for airfare, hotel, and whatnot, and it gets reimbursed through the grant. So we just want to be able to put the money up front. I'll submit the paperwork for reimbursement, and we'll get the money back for that.
All right, any questions? Morning?
Mr. Chair, move to approve the out-of-state travel request for Lieutenant Dan, help me, Lasowski and Jilner Cheyenne Barrett to attend training in Albuquerque, New Mexico, March 19 to 21st, 2025. All expenses are to be reimbursed by the Building Bridges Grant.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lewis to approve the out-of-state travel request for Lieutenant Dan Mikowski and Jail Nurse Cheyenne Barrett to attend training in Albuquerque, New Mexico, March 19th through 21st, 2025. All expenses are to be reimbursed by the Building Bridges Grant. As the motion is brought forward, is any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Commissioners. Have a good
Thank you.
day.
Thank
too.
you too.
Next item is an appointment of Caitlin Sherman to the Tuscola County Board of Health Services, TBHS, Board of Directors. Jody Fetting will be providing an update.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
We do have a current partial term vacancy on the TBHS Board of Directors, and we have received an application from Caitlin Sherman. Ms. Sherman has met with the TBHS, I believe, board chair and maybe the CEO to make sure that she will meet the qualifications of that position for the board. That board has certain qualifications for each seat, and she does meet that, and they are recommending her appointment to that board. So just coming forward with that, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Caitlin Sherman to the Board of Behavioral Health Service Board of Directors to fill the current vacancy for a partial term expiring on December 31st, 2027.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lewis, supported by Commissioner Goodchild to appoint Caitlin Sherman to the Tuscola County Board of Health Services Board of Directors to fill a vacancy for a partial term expiring on December 31st, 2027. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Appointment is approved.
Thank you, commissioners, and I will take those applications back, please.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. That concludes does not conclude the new business. Item number 4 is the court request
Ian, I'm sorry.
for on-call magistrate.
Oh, you turned it. But you're turning it off. Oh, but you turned it.
How's the batteries today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a couple requests here. I know Judge Gerhart was here a few weeks ago talking about our law clerk position. Our individual attorney that we had doing our law clerk, our on-call magistrate, and our deputy front of the court position went into private practice at the end of the year, so he left us. We posted his position and did not get any good candidates for that position. However, we did have a couple of people reach out regarding doing parts of those positions. So we have hired someone for the law clerk with the funds that were approved a few weeks ago. And we do have an attorney who's interested in doing the on-call magistrate for the 71B District Court. So, and that is Kristen Fisher Ruiz. And she would be handling all search warrants after hours and our weekend and holiday arrest in the jail by setting bonds. And that would be done when our full-time magistrate, who's on call 24/7, when he is on vacation. And also our agreement, which we've had for years, is 13 weekends per year that he gets off in the backup magistrate fills in for him. So with that, this is a position that we have to have our funding unit's board of approval. So I'm requesting that the board approve the 71B District Court appointing Attorney Kristen Fisher-Ruiz, as a contractual magistrate with the 71B District Court. And that would be effective March 1st, 2025. Secondly, we currently have budgeted, and we have for several years again, in our Unified Court of Budget, we have for that position, for that on-call portion, has been $5,000. And we are requesting that get bumped to $7,500 annually. So that's $625 per month. That would be the pay for that on-call position. As I indicated, we already have the $5,000 in our budget. And we would be willing to not ask the board for any more money for our budget. We would just ask to do a transfer from our visiting judge line item in the Unified Court budget to our contractual line item, and also move that $5,000 from a salary line item down to the contractual services line item, so that when we send over those monthly invoices, those can be paid.
Well, thank you for the update. Questions for Sheila?
I have some.
Proceed.
So we haven't had somebody there for 2 months, is that correct?
Correct.
So who's been doing that?
Who's been filling in?
Yeah.
Between Judge Bitzer and Judge Gerhart.
The-
And it's basically one weekend a month. And then when our magistrate has been on vacation, like as in January, our judges have filled in.
And Mr. Chairman, the problem I have with it is when our interim chief accountant was here, she said, guys, you guys got to watch that general fund. They got on here annually. So that means this is going to come back to us every year for $7,500. And what we're, as you said the other day, 26, 27 and on, we're not going to look that good. I have a problem with the annual because that means we're already setting precedents forward.
So taking it just a step further, if I may, I noticed that you had indicated the $1,250, which would be a portion for the balance of the year from March forward,
yep.
would be taken out of the visiting judge fund.
Correct.
What was your thoughts in terms of Commissioner Lutz is asking related to next year? Would the visiting judge fund amount be reduced for the balance of that for the full year? Because the question he's asking is going to come out of the general fund if we don't find it within some.
Correct. And to, just to clarify, and you may already understand, we have, every year we've had 5,000 budgeted for that position. So we're only asking for an additional $2,500. So I suppose if that's an issue going forward, then we would be willing to reduce that line item $2,500. If that means we would have an attorney that's willing to cover the on-call for the magistrate so that he has a break on once a month and during his vacation time.
Any further questions?
Well, my problem is the annual. I mean,
It's in the budget already.
the 5,000's in the budget right now.
Right.
And I haven't got an issue with that. The issue I have is the annual going forward. Annual means every year. So that means it's going to hit the general fund for another $2,500. That's the problem I have.
Or they reduce the line item, like the visiting judge line item, to
Going
compensate for
forward.
that and move it into this particular line item.
I mean,
Contractual.
we all know what that looks like in 26 and 27, as you mentioned on Monday. I mean, this is not getting any better. And that's the problem I have, is hitting that general fund, because yes, it may only be $2,500, but it's annually. That means it's going to be $7,500 every year.
Commissioner Youth, I'm so proud of you for bringing the concern for financial aspect. I've been talking about that for so long.
Hey, I've been listening.
I mean, reality or
As
not.
the chairman of, of the finance, you told us Monday how things are not looking so good. And so that's the problem I have.
So here's the position. Obviously, we want to avoid the general fund. And we want to avoid additional
We
funding
understand.
coming, which is obvious. So you've committed, or you're saying that you're committed to reducing the visiting judges fund by $2,500, which would just move it over into the, in this particular line item.
Correct.
All right, so I wouldn't hit the general fund. However, memory is short. And we'd have to make a financial note here to remember that during budget time, that the visiting judges fund isn't, an increase isn't requested, because that would come from the general fund, right? Yeah. And I mean, I remember when the magistrate came in, and I think you all do, and he was doing it solely on weekends, which was sort of a lifestyle change for anyone.
Mhm.
And I think we gave him an increase of 26%, or was 22, there was some percentage. I don't recall. Do you recall?
I don't recall what that
It
was, but
somewhere
yeah.
around there, I thought. To alleviate that, and then we had the other gentleman, which I can't pronounce his name, it just left.
Yeah, Mr. Perzondek, yes.
That's it.
He just went into private practice, yes.
Yes, he filled in.
Yep.
He was part of it, filled in. So now it's back, as you just said, back to Judge Gerhart and Judge Bitzer, and I mentioned they have the same issues. And the magistrate, probably. So, you know, I can understand the situation. We don't have the data and how many times they're being called on weekends, to, you know, to help that cause. But there's another issue here that came as of late, and I'm not sure. I don't think it was sent out. Because this is a contractual employee, the liability of MRA at this point is questionable if they'll cover it, the liability. So in discussing this with Shelley yesterday,
Mhm.
the commit was made by an MRA to bring that to their whatever board or whatever they need to do to see if they'll overwrite that. So it's the first time they've been requested to ask a contractual employee as a contractual employee for liability insurance. Normally, if you're an employee, you're covered. So there's a harbinger there in the sense that if we did move forward with any of this, it should be contingent upon the insurance certification liability from an MRA, that the individual is insured. And I would think that Attorney Ruiz would want the same.
Yeah, and I spoke to Shelley yesterday regarding
did you?
that too,
Okay.
and I provided her the statute, which indicates that they have to have a performance bond. So that was helpful, she indicated, but she was waiting, as you indicated, to get something obviously in writing. So I'm full aware of that too.
So would you be agreeable to that?
Contingent
If the
on
board
that,
would- yeah,
correct.
Contingent, if the board would so
Yep.
move, because that was a huge issue from the liability aspect. Of course, the financials just as equal, but I know this came in late and not everyone maybe had the updates. And I appreciate that you brought in the performance bond aspect. So back to the board. The question is, if we approve this contingently, with a certificate of liability insurance, the funding of it would have to come from the visiting judges line items entirely, the 2,500 in 2026. We couldn't bump visiting judge again. Board, pleasure of the board, we have a request to address this by Renee. Maybe perhaps for further information.
Yeah, I did some looking when you were referring to the visiting judge line item, because the 2,500 would come out of there. And we did have a over $20,000 balance at the end of 2024. So there would be plenty of money in that line item to move it over to the contractual to cover that, just so.
Well, Renee, that is very important to know because none of us knew that.
But the point is, Commissioner,
Yeah.
is I see where they have the money this year because they haven't had anybody in there for 2 months. So if you do the math, yeah, you got your 7,500. But I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on the annual that it's going to cost the county $7,500, $2,500 coming out of the general fund. I'm not happy with the annual. You're already going into 26 figures here. You know, I have a very disagreement with that.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
the 5,000 is already in their budget.
Right,
So forget about the 5,000.
right.
if they're willing to take the 25 out of the visiting judges, then it's a.
But what about 26 and 27,
we still
28?
got 20 grand in there.
The line budget though is gonna say 7,500. It's not
Yeah,
gonna
who
say
cares?
5,000.
It's gonna, 5,000 is gonna come out of their budget.
So how long will the 20,000 last? We don't have the
We
numbers
never
in front
know
of us.
that.
I know, we don't have those numbers in front of us. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, interesting, and I don't know what we put in each year for the, if it's just the 20,000 is what we always, whatever it's, if it's 15,000, we add
It's more
5 or
than that.
It was 35,000.
35 budget, and we're down to 20.
Every year.
Mhm.
So every year your budget, your line item budget says 35,000.
What Commissioner Cook is indicating, Commissioner Lutz, is that it would have to be an agreement that the line item for the visiting judge be reduced by that amount going forward perpetually now. I mean, not just this year for the 1250 or whatever.
Yeah, if they reduce that to 32.5.
Yeah, then you'd be.
You all right with that?
I'm sorry, guys, I'm still stuck on the annual. You're taking that in the line.
You're not understanding.
Yes, I am, because it's
Okay.
going from $5,000 a year on the line item budget to 7,500. See what I'm saying?
No.
You're
No.
changing the,
Yeah, I
you're-
see what you're saying, but it's wrong.
you're,
The 2,500 is in the budget too, in the visiting judges. So just moving it from one visiting judges to the magistrate, correct? Okay.
That's all I
You
understand.
don't understand that? I'm asking.
I don't, because the thing of it is, we're already doing stuff for 26. You're already saying this is what's gonna be in 26 on the line item budget, 7,500.
And the 32.5 on 26. In
Is
the
that true?
visiting
The
judges.
32.5 is already on 26 budget?
You haven't
That's what I'm
budgeted.
saying. We ain't budgeted yet.
That's the traditional amount. Apparently, it's been moved in that line item each year for visiting judges. Obviously during COVID, that was probably not enough, but understanding what you're saying, but Commissioner Cook is, I mean, we're just moving from one line item to the other. Now, what's the consequence of this? Well, the attorney is left. Judge Gerhardt, Judge Bitch are the ones that's got to fill in.
And just another comment, we did have previously we've had our attorney referee handling on-call as well for the courts, and we eliminated that position last year. So we eliminated a full-time position in which the judges absorbed the front of the court referee hearings as well. So that was another attorney that we had handling, that could handle these historically. But we eliminated that position too. So, and it's hard to find an attorney willing to not be in private practice, but do something like this with the court. So just speaking with her and knowing she's interested in this was great for the court.
How would this be split up, just as a side note, between the attorney Ruiz and, say, the magistrate? How do they share this? I mean, the two judges would want to back up, right? Typically.
Right, the two judges are available if need be, but the on-call, our full-time magistrate's on-call 24/7. He works out a schedule with, historically, this is a new position, but historically, when we've had our backup magistrate, they work out a schedule in which they indicate what weekends the backup person will be on call, when he's going to be on vacation, when the backup person would be on call to cover those days too. And then we communicate that to the chiefs, the police departments, the prosecutor, and the jail, so that individuals know who to contact after hours for search
So
warrants.
the
and-
weekend schedule or whatever they
Yep.
train, so there's
Mhm.
continuity.
Yeah.
Chairman, I didn't see a draft motion, so I've kind of been trying to craft one as we go from Judge's memo. And I've added a line, and maybe this will help Commissioner Booth if I may present what I've
Please
corrected.
do.
And then we can kind of see if that will maybe answer all of the questions as well as get the accomplishment that we need. So move to approve the appointment of Attorney Kristen Fisher Ruiz as an attorney magistrate for the 71B District Court effective March 1st, 2025. Also approve the request that the pay for this position be increased from $5,000 to $7,500 annually, parentheses, $625 per month, end parentheses. The additional $1,250 to fulfill the calendar year can be satisfied with funds from the visiting judge line item in the unified court budget. This position will be contractual between the courts and Ms. Fisher Ruiz. This appointment is contingent upon approval of an issuance of a performance bond by MMRMA. The $2,500 increase is to be funded annually from the visiting judge's line item moving forward. So that it is stating that in 25, the $1,250 will be fulfilled by the visiting judge's line item to fulfill the year of 25, as well as then that additional $2,500 will be fulfilled from the visiting judge's line item. So then it would be in writing as well moving forward. So, and we can adjust that craft. It's just a starting point, but from gathering from your discussion, and then the additional with the performance bond, as well as then the concern of where each year thereafter is going to come from. If it's in writing that it will continue to be funded from the visiting line item, I don't know if that would be a compromise between both sides and be fulfilling of that.
It was very clear. I mean, it was a very good motion in terms of clarity. I would think from the financial aspect, that's what was trying to buffer plus the liability. And Commissioner Lutz, I mean, I sincerely appreciate your thoughts, and whether they're broad in scope, but in other words, I mean, the 35,000 or whatever's been being put into the visiting judge year after year, that could, as you somewhat mentioned, that could be reduced, especially across the board. If we did that in 2008, among many other things. So, you know, I don't know. This is a very difficult decision, I think, for some of us, because you have to weigh the court's function, which we don't really quite understand fully, and their needs versus the financial impact, which we probably have a better handle on. With as much uncertainty as we know, we probably know about as much about the courts as we do about our financial future at the moment. If that makes any clarity.
Yeah.
There is an issue that has not been brought up, but at some point, just because this conversation is about funding, there is an issue of minimum serviceable level, which is something we had to deal with years ago when we reduced departments, courts especially because they're all legal, that we become liable in their eyes for impeding the function of their court system. We're not there. We have been in the past somewhat. Other counties have had litigation filed against them, but not that that means anything. It's just there is an end run to this in the future. I mean, depending on what we do at 2.2, you know, if you have to do a 30% cut or something. But I just wanted to add that in tangentially to, you know, keep that in the back of your mind. So the motion has been created. Is there any further discussion related to the motion?
So what if MMRMA says, nope, can't happen? What's the backup plan?
Then it'll be back to the drawing board for me. I'll be back here with a different request. Yeah, because that's required. So we'd have to figure out something.
Since it has to be an internal employee, county employee, unless there's some other means. Would that probably be the only option, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
I just know that when our interim chief accountant was here, she said, you guys really need to watch the general fund. And that's really set in with me. Because because I know Clayette knows what she was talking about. So I just was wanting to warn that we have to guard that general fund because, as we all know, 26, 27 is not looking that great.
What's the difference between 16 million and 19 million transfers in, which is revenue, and transfers out, which is general expenses, going to all facets? And there's a harbinger. And after thinking about this a lot and poring over the 24 financial projections that was created, I kept looking for line items that would be over. You know, you would really want to, the PRETA principle I mentioned, where you really want to watch those because they could consume a lot of cash. And then it finally dawned on me after a while is that there's something Mike Hoagland told us years ago. And when we first received the windmill revenue, which was very ludicrous at that time because it really saved the county, I'll say that, financially in many ways, not to depend on that. That's going to drive us to where, you know, as the windmill at the time, as it was depreciated and the funds depreciated, it wouldn't sustain. So don't go crazy and spend money. Well, it's sort of relevant today. We had the ARPA and we had the wind, and there's not a whole lot in the future. There is perhaps, it said it'll take over the court funding, but I guess that is not going very far, very fast. There's no motion, there's no bills yet, but you probably know more about that. That could help relieve counties from that, from the liability or the funding. But we don't have a lot of choices. And you're absolutely right. It's a weighing. Do you cut everything? I mean, the first thing that was passed back then, we have a hiring freeze. There is no hiring as it comes before the board. You have to have a very good case to hire an additional employee. That was in place way long after. And Commissioner DeRussell, I think Commissioner Grimshaw retracted that at one point for various reasons. So, I mean, there are steps to take today rather than waiting till August, but we don't really have someone here yet to drive the financials other than I did request. Let's have a graph of the past, go back a year or two. Revenue expense, you can see the trend. I mean, that's the first thing you want to look at is which way is it going? Well, we know it's revenue is expenses, but have they crossed yet? Well, I suspect they've crossed, and as Clayette showed us in a report, we put 1.6, 1.5 million, 1.6 million in 2024. We shored up our fund by 1.6 million. We had 16 million in revenue and 18 million in expenses, and the 1.6 was, well, your guess is as good as mine, where that came from, all over the place. And we do year adjustments, that's when you really get caught, because then you're trying to level the playing field, adjust all the line items to meet the budget amounts and that kind of thing. So you have a very valid point. It's not, there's a lot of uncertainty, but where do you want to start making those decisions that are going to curtail spending? And I don't think, as I was saying earlier, I don't think anyone's overspending. I think that between the revenues, what's happened to the revenues, and even the revenue sharing at the state controversy, guaranteed expenses have outpaced revenue. Happened here in town. So really, it's our decision, but I know that I don't know what the contingency plan is if the board would turn this down. You'd be back to finding, it's an internal, you got to find somebody internal again.
And currently, besides our magistrate, our full-time magistrate and the judges, those are the only attorneys that are fully employed by the court.
So it is a quandary.
And just, I mean, you've been here forever. I started here in 2001, almost 24 years ago. And I know we go back about the history of the courts. And as I just indicated, we eliminated a full-time employee position, a referee position. last year. When I started here, and you may remember, we had two magistrates. We had two full-time attorney magistrates who were there every day, and then they took turns doing on-call. And when one of our magistrates retired, I want to say around 2009, 2010, maybe in there, Judge Glassby at the time did not fill that position, and we eliminated on our own a full-time position, magistrate position, and we went this route. So just a little backstory. I mean, we used to have two full-time attorneys, magistrates in the courthouse every day, and then they handled the on-call after hours between the two of them, and we eliminated one of those positions, 15 years ago, maybe. So just a little, I feel like the courts were always trying to work to help the overall budget of our funding unit. And with that, anyway, just a little background.
Very good historical synopsis there with where we came from.
Yeah.
And the courts have always been a moving, things have changed so much. I believe, and I think Phil Cutting would say within the courts, and there's been a lot of movement, and just like everywhere else in the clerk position, responsibilities, it's not static. And I think that overall, the county executives proper and the elected done an excellent job of budgeting. It's just that the demands are exceeding the supply. So much for Econ 101, and that's
Did I, Commissioner,
650.
did I hear you say, I think this was before me and Commissioner Cook's time, the magistrate we have, he got a 26% raise?
It was a 20-some percent. I may be error one way or the other, but I think, and it was elimination. Something happened.
Yeah,
It was
he,
thrust it all upon the magistrate.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the issue where that came up was he used to have a separate salary, and then he had the on-call was always separate. And when the cost of living would increase, it would only go on against his salary. His on-call stayed at the same rate for many, many years. It was, they always kept that separate. And then that was to move it, to put those two different, his salary and his on-call stipend together as just his salary. But yeah, that on-call part had not changed over the years, like everyone's salary had when there was an approval for a certain percentage increase. His on-call pay had not increased for a long time. And that's how that decision was made when that was looked at and reviewed and brought to the board's attention. Yeah.
Any further thoughts? Anyone rise to a motion? It would be contingent, just as the clerk Cutting has read. We could have the motion read again if you'd like. Pleasure of the board.
Please.
So the proposed motion is move to approve the appointment of attorney Kristen Fisher Ruiz as an attorney magistrate for the 71B District Court effective March 1st, 2025. Also approve the request that the pay for this position be increased from $5,000 to $7,500 annually, $625 per month, The additional $1,250 to fulfill this calendar year can be satisfied with the funds from the visiting judge line item in the unified court budget. This position will be contractual between the courts and Ms. Fisher Ruiz. This is contingent upon approval of the issuance of a performance bond by MMRMA. The $2,500 increase to be funded annually from the visiting judge's line item moving forward.
That is the motion.
Was there any corrections or changes that you would like to see recrafted?
So to make the motion, do you want me to read that?
You can if you want to.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I move to approve the appointment of Fisher Ruiz as an attorney magistrate for the 71B District Court effective March 1st, 2025. I also approve the request that the pay for this position to be increased from $5,000 to $7,500 annually, $625 per month. The additional $1,250 to fulfill this calendar year can be satisfied with funds from the visiting judge line item in the unified court budget. This position will be contractual between the courts and Ms. Fisher Ruiz. This appointment is contingent upon approval of the issuance of a performance bond by MMRMA. The $2,500 increase is to be funded annually from the visiting judge's line item moving forward.
That is the motion. Is there support? I'll rise to the occasion for support.
We have that in a roll call vote, sir?
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to, do you want me to reread it?
Yes,
That-
because
Then you don't have to try and figure out my chicken.
Commissioner Cook did an excellent job reading your writing.
I was going from blue to black.
I know. Just let me know when you're ready.
Proceed.
It's been moved and supported to approve the appointment of attorney Kristen Fisher Ruiz as an attorney magistrate for the 71B District Court effective March 1st, 2025. It is also approved that the request that the pay for this position to be increased from $5,000 to $7,500 annually, $625 per month, and the additional $1,250 to fulfill this calendar year can be satisfied with funds from the visiting judge line item in the unified court budget. This position will be contractual between the courts and Ms. Fisher Ruiz. This is contingent upon approval of the issuance of a performance bond by MMRMA. The $2,500 increase is to be funded annually from the visiting judge's line item moving forward.
Thank you, Clerk Petting.
Thank you.
Are there any further discussions or questions? If there are none, I have one final chance. This is, the board could consider this as, the courts have exhausted their internal search application, attempting to remedy the situation of the on-call issues on the weekend and scheduling. This has been brought forth in full faith that there are no other options at this point. This is the best option that, as you're presenting it, and the fallback option is, as a fallback option, then even considered as a just in case, or
As far as this, no, I was surprised we even got an attorney who's local. There's certain requirements to be a magistrate. You have to live in Tuscola County. As one of the things, somebody who's willing to be on call, in the middle of the night. That's when those search warrants typically are obtained at 2 a.m, 3 a.m. Your weekends, you have to be available for individuals who are incarcerated who are arrested over the weekend, so that those individuals can have attention. So here we are, I guess. Well,
all right. Any other questions that might stem from that one? I just wanted to make good faith move that this has been duly considered in all aspects, and as you can see, it's very controversial. So with that, there's no other questions. Clerk Petting, proceed with the roll call vote.
Commissioner Lutz,
No.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodchild,
No.
Commissioner Bartlett,
Yes.
motion failed.
Plan B.
okay.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. That concludes, thank you everyone for the robust discussion. It was one of many I sense coming in the future. much like it. So that completes the new business with the add-on, the request of the court. Now we're going to move into old business, which we're going to revisit the bid openings. And our first item is bid award for the recycling truck, which is Mike Miller, Building and Grounds Recycling Director, will be presented.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So on the recycling truck, I'd like to recommend the bid be awarded to Moore Motors for a 2025 F-250 for an amount of $45,479.80. And how I came to that is Moore Motors is the low bidder on the on a 24 Ram. I am personally not a fan of Ram truck. So the next lowest bidder we had was Todd Wenzel Ford. They were bidding a 2500 Silverado, a 25. But if at all costs, I'd like to keep the money within the county with a local dealer. So the next lowest bid would be Moore Motors again for that F-250, which is the difference between Wenzel Ford and Moore Motors is $481.80. We're going to spend more going to Moore Motors than we would Wenzel, but I would prefer to keep the money within the county, a local dealer. That's my request, but it is definitely within your preview to award it to whoever you would want.
Any questions for Mike?
Yeah, I do. Mike, that, I'm glad to hear that we want to keep it within the county. We gotta take care of our people here. Mr. Chair, I move to award the request of proposal RFP to Moore Motors in the amount of $45,479.80 to purchase of a new 2025 Ford F-250 truck for the recycling center.
I'll support that.
Moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook and Commissioner Goodchild, to award the request for proposal to Moore Motors in the amount of $45,479.80 for the purchase of a new 2025 Ford F-250 truck for the recycling center. As the motion brought forward, are there any further discussion? If I may ask, what color is this truck?
You can, it is called.
Probably not green.
It is not green. That was $600 more. But this one's called Antimatter Blue.
Okay.
Anti-matter blue.
Just
So
wondered.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, don't matter.
As long as it's not green.
Oh,
All right. Just had to get that resolved.
I would also just like to state, I should have said that these funds are coming from the recycling budget. This is not a general fund purchase.
All right, any further questions for Mike? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the order of purchase of the F-250 truck has been granted. Item number 6 was the bid opening for the lawn mowing services, and once again, we'll do Mike.
Yes, I am recommending a 1-year contract with Laser Cut Lawn Care, who is our current provider. I don't have the number wrote down, but I believe from memory it was $32,200.
Yeah.
So they were the low bidder on it.
Chairman, I have a question. So does
Go
this
ahead.
correspond to, because you said the bid when you open it was like a month or cutting or something like that?
So it's $1,150 per cut for all of our buildings, and I multiplied that by 28 weeks to come up with that's how many weeks we bid.
Okay.
Last 2 weeks of April through the last week of October.
So I'm sorry.
Go
So if they don't cut, let's say in the summertime when the grass gets short and dying, if they don't cut, does that price come off in that?
It does, yes.
Okay, so
We get
just
a
every
month-
time they cut.
Yep, we get a monthly bill and then everything is here in the city other than the park, so we know when it's been cut.
Okay.
And they've been, this will be their 3rd year doing it for us, or actually maybe 4 years. And they've always done an excellent job for us.
Mr. Chair, I move to award the request of proposal RFP for the 2025 lawn mowing service to Laser Cut Lawn Care from Unionville in the amount of $32,200 for a one-year contract. Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lutz and supported by Commissioner Goodchild to award the request for proposal for the 2025 lawn mowing services to Laser Cut Lawn Care from Unionville in the amount of $32,200 for a one-year contract. That is the motion presented. Any further discussion? Another quick curious question. When they do mow, what would be the duration? I mean, for those who might be listening or, 32,000 years mow yards, what does it entail? Does it entail like a day's worth of mowing?
No, it's multiple days.
Multiple days? Okay.
Yeah, there's 15 properties that they mow,
Including Vanderbilt, do they do?
including the park, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
There are no further questions or discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the bid to Laser Cut has been awarded.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Next item is number 7, the Parks and Rec contract for park management.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the update contract for Parks Management, Vanderbilt Park, removing the $1,000 cap under Section 2 payment for services. Effective date of the amendment will be on February 27th, 2025. All other terms of the contract are to remain the same. Also, all necessary signatures are authorized for this amendment.
Your support?
I support.
Moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Goodchild to approve the updated contract for park management of Vanderbilt Park, removing the $1,000 cap under Section 2 payment for services. Effective date of the amendment will be February 27th, 2025. All of the terms of the contract are remaining the same. Also, all necessary signatures are authorized for this amendment. And I apologize that this is not item number 7. It is on the motion sheet, but not on the agenda. So those who are following along.
You got it done.
You got it done. All right, so that was the motion. Is there further discussion?
The only question I have, Mr. Chair, is I think when we had the contract, it was 2015, like 10 years from now, or 10 years ago, sorry. Do you think we should make a new contract with that change in it? I just throw that out there. I don't, if everybody's fine with it and the county's fine with it, I just think a contract that's 10 years old seems like it should be updated. I don't know.
Is there any wording in there besides what we just changed, that we want changed in there? I guess that'd be the question too.
The chair, yeah, sure, that's our hand.
Recognize Pam Shuck. Perhaps to add some clarity.
Pam, you're muted. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry. I did have an attorney look over the amended contract and compare it to the current contract, and it was okay with that attorney because I wanted an attorney to look it over also, just for our protection. So I did have it looked over because it was online.
So the question,
Was the cap was taken off.
okay. Thank you, Pam. The question I think that you were asking, Commissioner Cook, because of the age of the contract, and the wording says we're updating this contract, is this the same as saying that we're amending it? There'll be a separate amendment to that contract, to that particular provision within the contract? How does this look when it's in its end form? Technically first, and then there's another question after that. But
I would think just taking that out would be fine, but I'm not a lawyer, but
If
if she's happy with that, that's the only thing we're changing is the dollar amount that she gets.
yeah, and typically the only reason I'm bringing this up from a legal standpoint, I'm not a lawyer, so don't take my advice, but from Commissioner Cook's viewpoint, when you take a contract and make an amendment, I mean, there's usually provisions in that contract, but usually you do change that contract. You make an amendment, which is a separate page that amends your contract. Maybe that's what we have. I don't know. But just for technicality versus taking that contract to 215, making this motion, maybe you'll staple the motion to the contract. I don't know.
We can do that. It can be reworked. The controller's office, I'm sure, has that, and it can be, added in there now that once you pass the motion, it can be added in and then re-signed. But Pam does have her hand raised as well, but I don't see a problem with altering the contract to be the language with what you're approving today and then having a new contract signed. Because then it just brings it up to date and there's no question as to, having to marry those documents. So I think
I
that,
believe that's already in the packet, the amendment with the signature.
perfect. That's even better
I
then.
was gonna say, I thought it was.
Okay, thanks, Mike. That's great.
So it should be-
Page 32.
so it's the federal
Page,
park contract, park management, 227.
Beginning on page 31 of your agenda packet. Thanks, Mike.
So much for electronic documents, which is, keeping in mind that's on page 37. All right, so if that's deficiency for the building and grounds director and in terms of representing the county, and it is amended or changed on page 37, which I have not.
Yeah, I pulled it
You have
up. So that will be signed or is signed?
Will be.
Will be after we approve it.
Yep.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Mr.
You're
Chairman.
fine? Okay.
Yes.
And then I don't know
Very
if
good.
Pam had anything else. She does have her hand raised.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Pam? Recognize-
The thing is, that contract originally was in 2008 and it was just in Mark's name. And at one time, Jerry Peterson brought it up that they needed to add me to the contract because of Mark's shift and I was over there helping. And that's the 2015 update. Nothing changed at that time, but added me to the contract. But the contract was originally written in 2008, if you read up in the very first line item or paragraph there. So this contract has been in effect actually since 2008. They just added me to the contract in 2015.
I see what she's saying.
Which I think you're advocating is the contract is sufficient, even though it is an old contract originated in 2008 with Chair Peterson and then later amended in 215, which we're making another change in 225. Well, someday we read this contract. We ought to make it current.
I mean, the only thing we were asking was that cap be taken off because of the increases
Yeah.
in the park fees.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it's nothing, it's a wash. I mean, we're bringing the money in. It's not coming out of the general fund. We didn't ask an increase in the percentage. We've kept our percentage the same all these years. We're not doing it to make money. We're basically trying to, we look at this park as our front yard.
Pam, just so I can interrupt you, we're not questioning the contents or what is being asked. We were looking at the legality of an old contract and the relevancy of today in terms of data language. And it was brought up whether it should be questioned as an amendment to the contract, but that's been sufficiently remedied by page 37. Is there any other discussion for this? Is there a motion? Oh, there is a
Motion
motion.
support's already.
I think it's already been motion and supported.
We're ready for a vote.
All right, to vote.
Yep.
All right, that was discussion. Extensive, let's say. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. The update is approved. Thank you for everyone's patience and just working through the questions of that. Item number 3. And moving on to item number 4 is the Parks and Recreation Commission updated master plan. And the action being requested is,
On the next page.
Yeah, the next page.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the updated Parks and Recreation 2023 to 2027 master plan with District 1 Commissioner John Goodchild added. Plan to be approved as presented.
Support. Motion by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz to approve the updated Parks and Recreation 2023-27 master plan with District 1 Commissioner John Goodchild added. Plan to be approved as presented. That's the motion before. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, master plan is approved. Thank you, Michael. Well, there is no other old business to be presented. We'll move on to correspondence and resolutions, and it appears that there are no correspondence and resolutions. We'll move on to Commissioner Liaison Reports, which I'm up first. Behavioral Health meets tonight. Thank you for appointing the vacant board member today. Nothing to report on the DDA. Economic Development, Commissioner Vaughn isn't here, but they postponed their meeting to a later date. Next item, no report. Workers' Comp Board, our first meeting, or our next meeting, April 2nd. Finance Committee will be first week in March. And the NACO Rural Caucus, we did meet, and they're having their RAC meeting as I speak, which I did not attend, out of state. And nothing to report on the local units of government. So that's my report. Unless there's any questions, and moving forward to Commissioner Goodchild.
I have nothing to report this time.
All right, thank you for that. Then we'll move on to Commissioner Vaughn, who's not here today. Commissioner Lutz.
We went to the Board of Health last Friday. There's the warning of bird flu. There's the warning of chicken pox, the regular flu going around. It's very high. Just said, wash your hands. Make sure you stay away from people if you can, because it's very high right now. All the way down to human development. We're working on a meal site on Burnside Road, on Burnside Street here in Carroll. We're close to being done there. So when they do the meals, they'll be over on Burnside Street. So we're looking forward to that. Other than that, that's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Lutz. Commissioner Cook.
Nothing to report, sir.
Nothing to report. Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Is there any other business come before the board? Hearing or seeing none. We'll move into extended public comment. Is there any extended public comment? Would like to come forward? Anyone would like to address the board? Is there any extended public comment? Seeing or hearing none, let the minutes show that we offered extended public comment. It was no one availed. Next item is adjournment. Is your motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll support that.
Moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook, to adjourn the Board of Commissioners meeting about 9:10. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing or seeing none. Board of Commissioners meeting is now adjourned. We'll be moving into the statutory finance meeting here momentarily. We'll call the statutory finance meeting to order about 9:11. And we'll proceed with a roll call by Clerk Fetting.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Goodchild,
Here.
Commissioner Barbo,
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn, Commissioner Lutz.
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you, Clerk Fetting.
Thank you.
First item, as always, is the approval of the previous meeting minutes from February 13th, 2025. Is there a motion to set a course?
I'll make that motion.
I'll support that.
Moved by Commissioner Cook, moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook, to approve the meeting minutes of February 13th, 2025 as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing or seeing none, statutory finance minutes are approved. Moving to new business, item number 1, review and approval of finance report and checks, the 227-25 finance docket. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I'd review and approve the financial report and checks 22720 financial docket.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lewis, supported by Commissioner Goodchild to approve the finance report and checks of 227-25 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Financial reports and checks are approved. Item number 2, review and approval of the daily report and checks of the 227-25 daily docket.
Chairman, I make the motion to approve the review and approval of daily report and checks 227-25 daily docket.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz to approve the daily report and checks as provided in the 227-25 daily docket. Is there any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Daily report and checks have been approved as well. Moving on to item number 3, review and approval of the per diem reports and checks of February 2025 per diems.
Mr. Chair, I review and approve the per diems reports, checks, February 2025 per diems.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lutz and supported by Commissioner Cook to approve the per diem reports and checks of February 2025. The per diems. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Per diem reports are approved as well. Is there any old business to come before the finance statutory committee? Hearing or seeing none, we'll open it up to public comment related to statutory finance. Is there any public comment like to come forward to the board, statutory finance? Hearing and seeing none, let the minutes show that we offered public comment in statutory finance and did not receive any at this point. We'll move on to our final agenda item, which is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook to adjourn the statutory finance meeting about 9:15. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Did you get that again?
He's ready.
Almost a cappella there. Opposed? Hearing none, we are standing adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning for the Board of Commissioners. We appreciate your involvement and wish you the best this week and safety as well.